buddy. I haven't even posted this out anywhere yet, so I will send this out. But yeah, I'm doing a slightly different setup this time. So actually, I should check my levels. Levels. I think I'm loud enough, so I don't think there's a problem there. I think we're good on levels. Yeah, I'm trying something a little different. Actually, I should push the mic back a bit, but I think you'll still be able to hear. Actually, if I lean back, it should be okay. Kind of messing around with a few things. That's one of the reasons I'm starting a little early before I even post anything out. So I am now going to post my links to thingies in the different places that I do it. Let's see, doodle time. Let's go ahead and copy. And I will paste this right here. I'm saying live in 5, but I'm actually live right now. It doesn't really matter. I don't think anybody actually cares. I'll say, oh, okay, I'm here. I'll say live now. Live now. Yeah. So let's, one other place. Let me copy this. Copying. Go here. Paste this. And, okay, now the only other thing I have to do is put the same thing on the tweeters because I want to make sure. Okay, so what I can do is I can close Discord out. And now I can go here. And I can go to this thing. And I will just say, fortunately, I can just copy that. Can I just copy? Thank you. Copy text. Okay. I'm just watching my levels, too. This actually should let me be able to see if people actually join. Watch, I set this all up and nobody's going to be watching. It's fine. It really doesn't matter. Okay, tweet that there. But I'm, what are you calling it? I'm trying a slightly different audio setup because the other one worked. You probably notice, or you will notice whenever you hear this or listen to this. I'm going to get a drink of water, so give me a second here. Bear with me. Getting a drink. Yeah. Problem is, I have, as an aside, I've discovered an extraordinarily good salt that is called, it's a smoky bacon salt. Now, I'm not really, I like salt, don't get me wrong. I do like salt on things, but I'm not really a salt person usually, at least not like some people. My wife loves salt. And I like salt. Do not misunderstand. I do like my salt. But this stuff is powerful. It's good. I don't even know who makes it. I think it's like San Francisco Custom Salts or something like that. And it's good, man. I like it. Problem is I put a lot on the mac and cheese that I heated up tonight. And when I say heated up, I made it on the uni oven that my family so wonderfully got me for my birthday this year. And it came out great, but I put a little too much salt on there, so now I'm really thirsty. Which is fine. That's not a bad thing. It's what it is. Okay, so here is my thing is mirrored, so I see that. Now I have to go into my, let's see, I have to do, oh, you know what I just realized? Oh, no, that's fine. Okay, no, that's it. I need to do this. Here we go. So the only thing I don't like about this is that it doesn't save. Where is there it is. It does not save. I guess because it's oh, did I just switch? Oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like it matters. I should have done that before I started. So that was actually my fault. It doesn't save the application. In any event, I'm going to wait another about 30 seconds here before I get started. Yeah, I decided I was going to do an art stream this evening because at the time this is streaming, and this probably is not going to be news to anybody because it is now pretty much dominant everywhere. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because I actually do want this stream to be kind of an escape. But at the same time, there's this strange thing where it's, if I don't say anything, it feels oblivious. but there was another shooting in the United States. And, a lot of kids are dead. And I don't know if anything's going to change. Maybe it will. I don't know. I mean, you if you're optimistic about things, you have to, I guess. But you almost feel like the Lucy and Charlie Brown football thing, where there people who are, I think, rational human beings sit here and go, okay, this has got to be the last one, right? This has got to be it. And you hear all the rhetoric. There's going to be people. It's already happened with people saying, no, it must change. We must do something. And you hope it does. I don't think most normal, rational, non-insane people want this stuff to happen. So you hope it does. But we've kind of been down this road before. So I don't know. But that's all I'm going to say is, yeah, it's terrible. And I'm sure that there are people who are, if anybody watches or listens to this from outside the U.S., and I know I talk to people outside the U.S., and the bewilderment, and that's putting it mildly, at the stuff that goes on with this in this country. People who look at the United States and gun violence and are just mystified at why things are allowed to be like this. I don't have an answer for you. So, and that's all I'm going to say about it, because I'm not some kind of brainiac. I don't have any great solution for you. I don't know what's going to happen. Will this actually be the last time? We'll see. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because, it's a terrible thing. And I don't know what's going to happen in the near term. But hopefully, at the very least, the body count doesn't go up anymore. I don't know. Anyway, that's why I wanted to specifically do an art stream tonight, because I wanted to kind of get away from that a bit. So we're going to get away from that a bit. I don't know how salt led into that. How did salt get to that? Oh, because I wanted to get it out of the way. I wanted to get it out of the way up front. So yeah, no, I've discovered this really, really good gourmet salt, and the problem is now I put it on everything. So yeah, smoky bacon salt, really good. Problem is when you use too much, then you just start drinking gallons of water. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and get going here because I've been talking long enough. So let's go ahead and roll my little intro thing. Assuming I picked the right one. I picked the right one. So rare when I do things correctly. So we'll let this little thing play. I think I need to speed this up. I get involved in making these things and don't realize that they take... I mean, it's not, I guess, 45 seconds. It's really... I don't want to feed into the culture of everything has to be as fast and as rapid as possible. So you know what? 45 seconds isn't that bad. We'll be fine with it. We'll be fine with 45 seconds. I wonder if there's a way in this thing when switching scenes to have it do like a automatic crossfade. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm going to have to look. I probably should look before now. Whatever. Okay. So we'll wait for it to start to fade out. And we'll shoot over to this. Boom! Look at that. Ah! Smooth, baby. Smooth. The timer didn't reset. All right. So I'm going to lean back a little bit. But hopefully my audio levels are okay. If they're not, just let me know. But they should be, because like I said, this is a completely different setup. And essentially what I'm using is my podcasting setup. So I have a much better mic. So hopefully that's clearer. I don't see any... I'm just checking the little metrics things. Don't see any frame drops or slow frames. Hovering around 50% utilization on the CPU. That's not too bad. So I think we're okay. Anyway, here we go. So hopefully I don't sound... I checked the mic this time, so I'm hopefully not making the same mistake I made last time, where I had the wrong thing. The microphone was incorrectly set. So we're still working on the iPod here. Sorry, I'm yawning. I'm not really tired, so I don't know why I'm yawning. It's kind of a weird thing. Why am I not seeing my layers correctly? Why is it not? Where is the shadow layers? Hold on. Gotta figure this out. Give me a second. Okay, let's see. So this is not a... Really? What is this? What is that? Yeah, that... Oh, you know why I put it... I know why. I put it underneath so that I would be able to do the circular effects correctly. So I'll move it... Wait, no, but it should still be on top of that stuff. Why is it underneath? Hold on a second. This doesn't make any sense. Why would I not be able to see it? Is it... No, it's on a normal... What? Oh, fascinating. We've run into a problem right off the bat. Okay, so hold on. Okay, wait. Oh, okay. Because that's the outline. This is the outline. All right, I got it. See, this is where if I name things, it wouldn't be a problem. But I'm a moron, and I don't name things, therefore. Okay, so I need to find my shadow layer, which should be in among these. Ah, there it is. Okay, so there's my shadows. So shadows on plastic are obviously going to function a little bit differently than shadows would on skin. So we're not going to use the same kind of stuttered pattern here that we're using on the skin to indicate. Oh, I should finish that pattern now. Hold on. I just realized. See, this is my problem is I jump around a lot. All right, so let's take off the... Let's take that off. Let's go to our detail layer, which is which one? That's the one. And let's jump back into black. Let's jump back into my pen. I think it's, is it this pen? I think it's this pen. Let's check. Oh, well, no, it could be that, but it's probably smaller. Let's drop it down to 3, I think is what I use for this. 3 weight? Oh no, that's too small. Huh. Hold on. Is it 5 weight? Oh, it's 5. Okay, so I must have been on 8. Got it. All right, so we'll keep doing this here. Yeah, so I'm trying out this new setup because the other setup, actually, well, there was a couple reasons. I mean, I was planning on doing an art stream anyway, even before the shooting happened, although that sort of cemented that I was going to do it. I was back and forth a little bit, but tell me if I'm talking too low because I'm sort of facing down. Microphone's close, so it should be fine, but if I become mumblier and, incomprehensible, just let me know. But the other thing was, let me hold this like this. There we go. The other thing was that I got my diploma in the mail. I actually have finally completed my college graduation from 22 years ago and got my, what is that thing? I actually hung it right above my monitor, which was an interesting accident because now the accent light on my monitor, it's a very bright blue light because my computer's whole color scheme is blue. It's like radiation blue or Chekhov blue, whatever. Chekhov radiation, I think, is the blue radiation. And so it acts like a black light on the diploma. So when my desk is lowered, so when I'm sitting, which is what I'm doing now, I didn't want to stand and try to hold the iPad. I think that's really bad for my arm and hands. The light just illuminates it, which was accidental. It was just the open space on my wall because I don't have a lot of open space on my wall. I have so many posters and artwork around that the logical place, but of course when the desk is up, it's covered, which is sort of whatever. That aesthetically isn't all that great. But when it's down, the blue light illuminates the diploma, which is just kind of an accidental thing where I'm like, that's kind of neat. It's under black lighting my diploma. That's nice. So yeah, I'm officially a Bachelor of Fine Arts. That's me. The irony in getting a degree many, many years after being very close to getting it the first time and being too friggin' lazy to finish it. But, better late than never. So I was like, I should do an art stream. And then, of course, the shooting happened. That was even more reason to be like, okay, you know what? Let's do something where people can just see something fun and, keep things light and as light as possible. Like I said, there's always a tension where, when something like this happens, you don't want to just ignore it. But at the same time, honestly, if you want to see people talking and venting and being angry about it, as they should be, I'm not saying that as any kind of mockery or saying people shouldn't care. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people just don't care anymore. I think we have become numb to these things. But there's plenty of that. So we can stick around here and I can draw a zombie iPod hand. We don't have to worry about that stuff. I just finished the timeliness of this too. I was talking to somebody about this today when the news of this broke. I said, boy, it's funny because I just finished watching the George Carlin documentary on HBO Max, which is fantastic. It's a great documentary. Not really, I mean, Judd Apatow and I don't know who the other person was. I don't know if I assume the other individual whose name I think is Michael Bonfiglio, which Bonfiglio is Italian for good son. So it's Michael Goodson, the Italian version. But I'm assuming that Bonfiglio guy is probably a documentarian. I think that person probably is the he's probably the more, because Judd Apatow is, I mean, I'm not going to say he never made a documentary, but it's not what he's necessarily known for. And my hunch is that the other guy is the more technically competent in terms of the documentary format itself. I could be wrong about that. I didn't look it up or anything. I will probably look it up before the show this week so that I can or next week. I shouldn't say this week because we already did this week's show. But the next week's show where I can speak with more authority on it. So I can say, well, as it turns out, I was right, because it's rare when I'm right. So I like to, like, hey, guess what? I was right. You know, not that it matters. There's no score or prize involved, but, you know, just one of those things. Anyway, documentary is fantastic, which, again, I knew it would because I like Carlin. And I've always connected with his worldview on a lot of things. Not everything, but a lot of things. I don't totally agree with anybody on anything, honestly, because, I don't know, I always find it weird when people are, oh yeah, I'm in total agreement with that person on every single thing. Really? Every single thing? I don't know. I never believe that. Or, well, okay, I shouldn't say I never believe it, but there are certain types of people that I do believe have so little in their head that what they do is instead mimic others. But I think for anybody who is capable of independent, rational thought, you don't actually agree with anybody else on everything. Everybody has their little variations. You can be very similar. I mean, you know, but not even twins, I think, are that similar, even though they may do very similar things. And not all twins do that, so that proves the point. In any event, good documentary, which I already again, the reason I was saying I agree with a lot of stuff that Carlin believed and said. So I sort of knew I was going to like it going in, because honestly, if all they had done was play clips, that would have been fine with me. And they did play some clips, but I don't think they over-relied. I think the clips always, because that's a danger with some of these things, is they can sometimes over-rely on just playing clips. But I think the ones that they picked and the stuff that they actually showed from his shows was conducive to the story. It made sense in terms of, you know, his artistic evolution and change in his comedy and change in his personality. Not necessarily personality, but his stage personality, I guess, and what he was doing there. So that was really good. And I did not realize how long it was going to be. I don't say that as a detriment. I'm happy that they took the time they did, because I feel like, and I've read a lot of Carlin stuff. I've read a lot of things about him, but there was stuff in there I didn't really, you know what? There's also a difference between reading something, and there's a lot of, in a documentary, there's many times where they are playing, I don't know if these were interviews, or some of them were clearly home recordings, or, you know, obviously stuff that I would assume hasn't been released like this before. And it's probably because it just didn't fit in something else. But when you get into a documentary, you can jump into some of these things. I actually thought it was an extraordinarily, very sincere tribute to his first wife, which is actually something that I have to admit is probably the best thing about it, is when he speaks at the different points where he's talking about his first wife and how she was always very supportive, because, you know, that is something that, you know, you read a lot about a lot of artists, and especially ones who died young or that really struggled. And many times what you will pick up as a semi-common theme, I'm not speaking as any kind of art history historian or anything like that. I'm simply speaking. Oh man, my thing dropped out. Sorry. Hold on, I'll get it back. We'll get it back, everybody. Don't worry. Let me switch to this really quick so that I can reconnect. Happens once in a while, so don't worry. Fortunately, this software is it comes back very quickly. So, okay, there we go. Let me wait for the prompt. Give me a second. Oh, there, it came back. Okay. I didn't have to do the prompt this time. Bang! And we're back. So, that is something that you pick up as a common theme, is that many times artists don't have the support structure. Many artists were, in fact, not supported by their families in many ways. And sometimes innocuously, not because the families thought they were terrible at what they did, but were acting out of a fear that it would be something that would not work out as a career. I had a little bit of that myself, and I think I've talked about this before, where when I was not very young, I was in, what grade was that? It was was it high school? No, it was before high school. So I guess it was junior high. Was it junior high? Whatever. It was before high school. There was a point where my dad had gone to one of my art teachers. And, when I did the late night with Aunt Pruitt, I remember that. I definitely talked about it on that one. I think I discussed it on other ones before, where he had gone to my art teacher and said, "Can you discourage him from doing artwork this much because, he's not going to be able to get a job. This is not something that will put money or put food on the table and put money in a bank account. And my art teacher was very adamant about not doing that. Now, that doesn't make my dad an evil person. In fact, my father, in just about every conceivable way, sacrificed many things in his own life to make sure that I didn't have to struggle for anything. But this was an area where he felt like, okay, artists, and I know my grandmother, as far as I know, in my entire extended family that I know, and I do have a lot of family that's back in Italy that I've never met, so I can't speak to them, but they're her direct relatives that stayed there. So I don't know if any of them are artistic as well. I mean, I know the one uncle of mine who died very young was musical, and so was I for a while, where I don't know, I don't think he played the drums, though. I did, but he didn't, I don't think. I think he was, maybe he did. Maybe I did get it from him. In any event, I wonder if there was sort of that thing where maybe my grandmother and my grandparents, my father's parents died when I was very young, so I never got any I was never mature enough to inquire about this stuff or make these connections, but I wonder if there was some part of him that saw that maybe my grandmother wanted to be an artist and couldn't do it, or was always kind of frustrated. I don't know. I mean, I'm projecting that. I have no idea if there's anything to that. If my dad were alive, he might very well say, no, your grandmother just liked to draw stuff once in a while. She was never going to do it as a career. Come on. But I don't know. So it to me is very endearing, and I thought was very heartwarming the way that Carlin's first wife was always behind him, which is not to say it was smooth sailing. In fact, it was very rough sailing for a long time. If you watch the documentary, that's going to become very clear. That, even in his success for a while, in what I would call his middle period, after he had stopped doing the clean stuff and the variety shows and all that stuff, he hit that middle period where he was doing mid late 70s type stuff, where his hair first grew long and he had a beard, that type of thing. But before he got to his, what I think was his best period, which would be essentially late 80s all through the 90s, where he was really firing on all cylinders, to use a terribly overused cliche, but where he was at the height of his written and performing powers. So he was for a while popular, but it wasn't something that came with a ton of money, and not to mention, of course, having a massive drug problem is going to take some of your cash. And what I wasn't aware of also was that he was supporting not only his own family, but some of his extended family as well. So a lot of his finances got drained out. So without his wife there, I mean, they don't get into this in the documentary at all, but I would imagine that he probably would have overdosed or died. I think without that support structure there, I don't know what would have, because it sounded like he was, he was pretty heavy into coke. And a lot of people who are heavy into coke don't make it out. Not in one piece, let's put it like that. So that was actually one of the best parts of the documentary, was to hear that love and that warmth, because honestly, that is, and my wife is like this. Now I'm not going to attempt to try to quit all my work and try to do this full time. Otherwise, that would be an extraordinarily rocky. I believe she would support it, though. I don't think my wife, if I came to her tomorrow and said, look, I've had this realization that art is what I need to do, and I have to do that full time, so I have to quit everything. I think she would support me, but I think she'd be terrified, and honestly, so would I. And in fact, some of what I think makes Carlin extraordinary, and to some degree, some people might not read this as a positive thing, but his certainty about what he needed to do allowed him to have that boldness to say, no, I'm doing this no matter what. And he was fortunate that his wife saw the need, recognized the talent, and supported it, even through what had to have been a healthy dose of terror that did not immediately go away. And then, of course, it's very vindicating at the point where he achieved the success that he got to, that they show an acceptance speech. Best part of the whole documentary. Best part. I mean, just one of these things where it's set up very early on, and it sounds like something that they're not going to come back to necessarily, because when he had made the decision that he had to, stop doing variety shows and all this stuff and do his actual work, she immediately said, okay, well, then I will put together a press kit for you. And this is very early on in the documentary, right? So, it's a wonderful little anecdote that you hear, and it's like, oh, that's sweet. She was behind him 100% from the beginning. That's great. And what you almost start to anticipate is that at some point she's going to say, okay, enough's enough. We're broke. You're not breaking through. We have a daughter. We can't go on like this. This can't be the way that it goes. So, but it never happens. Never happens. Instead, she's always behind him. Again, they have their rough periods and all that stuff, just like normal people. But then I don't know what he was accepting, some award. And he brings up the fact that the only reason that all this stuff worked is because she was behind him. And he brings up the story about when he told her what he was going to do. She didn't blink, and she immediately said, okay, I'll put together your press kit. So it's a wonderful payoff to that. Really, really wonderful documentary in a lot of ways. But that is the best part for me, is because it's a sadly uncommon story where you have somebody who, because, yeah, it's the classic line, it's easy to stick by somebody when things are good. The real test is when things are bad. Well, things were bad for them for a long time. And the typical story would have gone that at some point she would have just given up and walked out. Even if it had been temporarily. I expected at some point, with how much that things kind of went up and down and everything that was going on, that she probably was going to leave, at least temporarily, that they would have some kind of separate. Never happened. Nope, never happened. So, great documentary. I spent now probably 20 minutes, probably about 15 minutes talking about it. It's really, really good. It's on HBO Max. Sadly, if you don't have that, you can't watch it, which really sucks, because it's a good documentary that I think people should see. And like so much now, it is walled behind a streaming service. I wonder where that's going to go. I don't think that can stay forever. I mean, I say that, and we had cable for how many years, so I guess it can stay forever. But I sure hope it doesn't. Give me a second here. I want to check something very quickly. While I'm thinking about it, let's see. Let me just look here. I'm just curious about something. Bear with me for a minute. Wow, good for them. Yankees tied it in well, I don't know what inning, but it's tied in the bottom of the ninth. Or something in the ninth. Good for you, Yankees. I always like the Yankees. I don't love the Yankees. When I say I don't love them, I think I don't buy into fandom that way. I'll always be a lifelong Yankees fan, but I will never be a person who will, it's not a cult thing for me. It's they're a baseball team. I don't know them. So certainly I support their successes and I enjoy them, but I don't overlook their failures either. A lot of people have that blind spot for teams, blind loyalty. I'm not big into blind loyalty. I mean, not ever. You can earn it. There are certain people who get blind loyalty. And when I say blind loyalty, I mean that your first default is, even against overwhelming evidence, you favor that. Lando's got that from me. My wife has that from me. My mother has that from me. That's probably about it. As far as, even if everything else says north and they say south, well, the car's going south. Very few people. That's what I mean by blind loyalty. Because a lot of people are like that with sports teams. And celebrities, to be honest, where they're, oh, no, can do no wrong, even though it's, okay. You understand that these are people who operate in circles that are almost, I don't know, they're almost conductors to become horrible people. Because of the power, money, fame, attention, all that stuff that mixes together. Dangerous mix. If you can handle it. I mean, I think most people, it's one of these things where I look at the actions of, not monsters, obviously. I'm not excusing that type of stuff, but I look at the lives of people who are famous or rich and all that stuff, and depending on when that fame and wealth and attention came and what circumstances it came in, you really can't be surprised when they cannot function as ordinary people anymore. I mean, it's almost just going to have to be that way because they're not normal people anymore. That's another thing. Is there's often this, again, this is not to excuse stuff. It's two different things. Understanding and condoning are two very different functions. But I look at some people and I go, okay, yeah, these people aren't operating in the same world as everybody else. And when you don't do that for a while, like everything else, you become conditioned to it. It becomes normal to be abnormal. That abnormality simply happens to take the form of something that is to many people monstrous. But it had to. Look what, it's like when people who are born into wealth act like they struggle in the way that people who have never known financial comfort. Right? I don't remember I think it was one of the Kardashians or somebody said something about working hard. And everybody kind of looked at her like, what planet are you on? I think it was one of the Kardashians. I don't actually remember. Somebody who shouldn't have said that. Somebody who it was not in a position to be able to say that said that. And I don't, because people jump to defense. I remember saying, well, I do remember it was a woman. I remember that because I remember the comments. She works really hard. Okay, that may be true now, but that's not. Actually, you know what? People are just better off keeping their mouths shut. I'll say it like that. But I do look at people and understand that there is a warping effect. I think that's rather than get focused on a specific individual, I'll make the larger point. I understand how perspective gets warped for those who only have one angle on something. It's one of the things I think we would all be better off if we could do is understand that there are different perspectives in the world, and that those different perspectives are the root of many of the problems we've got. And that's not to say that you're ever going to understand somebody who has had a radically different life experience than you. You're not. No matter what. As much as you can act like you're walking in the shoes of somebody else, it's not the same. My dad's life experience, I think about the way my dad viewed things, which is very different than mine. My dad and I were very different people. Not in a bad way. As I said, my dad was a stellar father. Really, the older I get, the more I appreciate the stuff that he did to try to allow me to have the life I've got. And one of the reasons I don't have kids is I don't know that I would do the same things my dad did. I don't know that I would have that level of self-sacrifice. I don't know that I would. I can just be honest with myself about it. I don't know. I don't know that I'm that unselfish. I might be. I'm not okay with it, but I recognize it. And that's another thing about, perspective, is to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? Here's a couple of flaws about me. Not to the point where I sit there and weep in front of a mirror going, oh, God, I'm terrible. I'm not going to do that. I don't need a need for that, but I also try not to overlook the things that are clearly limited about me. And I can be an extraordinarily selfish person. I really can. There was something as a matter of fact, today I can give you a direct reference from today. Earlier in the day, when I was at work, there was somebody who I hadn't seen in a while, and I was trying to get this thing. I had to mail something off. It was a business thing, but I had to get this thing in the mail, and I was kind of annoyed about it because it wasn't quite handled properly, not by me, but by somebody else. And so I was like, okay, this is sort of dumb that this is doing it this way, but whatever. And I saw this person, and this person said to me, oh, hey, how you doing? How's it going? And my immediate thing was to ask that person if they were working in the place that I needed to get to mail this thing out. Didn't even factor in, oh, I'm fine. How are you? Like, I just jumped straight to, hey, I need this. And I felt really bad about it because I recognized it within 60 seconds and corrected. But still, that's what I mean about you recognizing the flaws in yourself is a good thing, because if you can do it and recognize them, then you try to fix them. Because I felt like a real jerk, because it was just my tone, everything was just awful. Not I was being mean or rude or anything, but just immediately, yeah, what can you do for me? Oh, well, then I don't care. Oh, God. I don't even like thinking about it. But if you just ignore those things, you can't fix them. So, look at it and go, yeah, don't be like that again. Try to step outside whatever the immediate thing is and realize that, honestly, it wasn't really that important anyway. More important to say, hello, oh yeah, I haven't seen you in a while either. How are you? Human stuff is always going to outrank any other type of thing. People are going to be more valuable than things, especially things that have to do with a job that, most places don't care about you, so why do you care about them? So, yeah, perfect example where I was a real jerk. I mean, not intentionally so, but still, kind of a reflexive jerkiness, which, nobody deserves that crap. So, fortunately, I was able to recognize it right away. That's what I mean. I try to keep an eye out for my own worst impulses. Not always good at it. Can't pretend that I'm some kind of Zen master at recognizing when I'm doing something stupid, but I try. Not going to get a drink. Bear with me. I got to lean over. Oh, that salt, man. Thirsty because of the salt. But the salt's good. So whatever. I like salt. I like this salt a lot. I mean, and it does. I've already bought another thing of it. And it's I guess this is how little I know about anything. And it's sort of amazing because I like cooking stuff. But I wasn't aware that there were things called finishing salts. And there's something called finishing salt. Which I think means you're not supposed to use a lot of it. And I use a lot of it. Because it's smoky and it's bacon flavored. And I like smoke in food, not, And I like bacon a lot. So, smoky bacon salt is kind of a winner right off the bat. But yeah, that's what I mean about perspective is important. And the ability to recognize where your own perspective steps on things is also important. So I try to do that. Like I said, not a pro by any stretch or anything, but, we're all works in progress. That's the reality of it. None of us are, in fact, the way we're... Well, I guess some people probably are. There are good people around. I shouldn't make it like we're all rotten. We're not all. But... And even rotten is the wrong term for it. We get very caught up in moral judgments about other people and ourselves. When, in fact, there are very few people who are actually bad people. What we often fall into is simply selfish or short-sighted behaviors, and our inability to empathize with others and recognize that we're all human beings and that we want similar and different things, and that there are often good reasons for that. Sometimes there aren't. There are bad motivations, not bad people, bad motivations. Say bad people makes it sound like, people can't change. They can. It's tough. And a lot of people don't want to put the effort in. Believe me, it ain't no fun. It is not fun to look in the mirror. Like I said, this thing that happened today. If you think I was like, oh yeah, look at that, you were a jerk, that's great. No. It was embarrassing. I did not enjoy the feeling of sensing what I was doing. But necessary. I think. Have to attempt to grow a little bit. And it can be done. It doesn't destroy you. Doesn't make you weak or somehow, I think sometimes people confuse the ability to kind of evolve a bit with them changing in some way that's bad. That's another thing. People don't like to have to change. Oh, okay. What do you want me to tell you? It's a good thing. Evolution isn't bad. You can have negative changes. Although normally you kind of know those off the bat. A lot of times, bad habits or bad actions are recognizable. So it's little tougher to fall into those, I'd say. As with most things, the effort is on the plus side, is on the positive stuff. Like eating healthy tends to be more expensive and more difficult for a lot of people. Eating like crap is cheap and easy. Same thing with the way we interact with each other. It's easy to be mean because most people, how do I phrase this correctly? It's not hard to guess right about something that can be hurtful to another person. Not just mean physically, but, even insults and that type of thing. Because so often where that injury comes from is our own insecurities and our own things that we don't like about ourselves. So it's very easy to kind of carpet bomb and manage to hit something that will hurt somebody else based on what would hurt you. Tougher part is to learn about somebody and be able to respond to them in a genuine way, because it, again, involves sometimes this really paradoxical ability to see from a different viewpoint. Boy, I am sounding like some kind of dime store philosopher here, aren't I? Jeez. What do I know about anything? I don't know anything. I am just a nobody who is streaming artwork. So I don't know that anything I'm saying has any relevance. Probably doesn't, but that's how I look at the world. And even that's radically different than it used to be. Some of the things I think today are not things I would have thought 5-10 years ago. It's not really, because some people are like, well, COVID changed everything. Well, don't get me wrong. COVID certainly, sadly, I think COVID reinforced more things for me than it really changed. But, oh, no. Whoops. Let me get rid of that right there. Redo those before I forget about those and notice them a week from now. But, it's a good thing. I think growth is a good thing. I think being able to look around and change a bit without, you don't have to change to the point where you suddenly become a completely different person. I think that's what I mean about people confuse sometimes what change is as opposed to what they're afraid it'll be. Oh, if I change so much, I'm not myself anymore. Well, I don't know. Short of brain injury or taking DMT or something, I don't know that we ever stop being who we are. We just become different versions. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. Can be temporarily, but even those things can be fixed. Most people, if they don't intend to be bad people or do bad things, don't. I think rehabilitation, and I think it's a real thing if you want it to be. If you're play acting at it, then obviously it won't be, but that's a completely separate discussion. Well, let's see. We're coming up on 45 minutes, and I could tell that because my arm is starting to cramp. This setup's not bad, though. I think I'm going to stick with this overall setup because I think the audio quality probably is better. It's not uncomfortable. It's about the same amount of time I got out of the other setup, and I can actually see the chat. If people show up and actually say something, I'll be able to see it. So I'm probably going to keep doing this because I would like to have the better mic. So hopefully at least that part was... The levels from what I can see on the meter look pretty good, so it should have been picking me up the whole time. In any event, I think we'll break here for now. So we're making progress. Got a little shadow lines done except for these couple blobs, but the rest of it's getting there. I got to work out a couple ideas for the iPod itself, but you can see the shadow lines, so that's generally where the shadows, because I'm trying for an underlighting thing. I'm not being real strict with it, but that's the idea. But yeah, this will end up on a t-shirt once I'm done with it, assuming I don't destroy it somehow. But I don't think so. I've got a pretty good feel for this, where I want it to be. I think it's getting there. I'll have to get the text. I'm gonna do that in Photoshop. I'll actually get text that looks like the iPod text and put something up there, like the zombie pod or whatever. I don't know what. Anyway, it says there's a viewer. I'm assuming it doesn't count me, but I really don't know. I don't know how that actually works. So hopefully it's not counting myself. It shouldn't be because I don't have it open anywhere. But in any event, I hope everybody has I hope Tuesday for you ends better than it started. I think that's all we can wish for, is at the end of our day, even if your day started off great, then it's even better. Oh, hey, Faint Waves, how you doing? Has this been you the whole time? I'm good. How are you? Have you been here the whole time? Through this whole thing? Because it showed one viewer and then it showed two for a little while, so I don't know when you showed up. I'm sorry if you just showed up because I'm about to end the stream, so I feel kind of bad if you just showed up. Hopefully you've been here for a while. I'm doing fine. This thing can't possibly be accurate because now it says 2. Okay, so oh man, you just showed up and I'm gonna end this thing. Oh man, I feel terrible. I don't know how. Crap. Well, sorry. I've been on here for a while, and my hand's kind of starting to cramp on me. That's the only problem is I can't do this thing for long because I draw stupidly. Honestly, very unergonomically. The opposite of ergonomically is how I've always done stuff. So, but anyway, it'll be up on Twitch. You can watch it. But I was just kind of going over the totality here. Yeah, you too, man. Like that's what I was saying was I hope everybody has a better end of their Tuesday than it started. Even if it started great, then I hope it ends even better. And I'll probably do this again on Thursday. The Jaws thing is fun, but I think people like the drawing thing better. So, I don't know. The timing thing might be weird too. I might try to do different times. It's just tough because, it's just where I can fit it in. But in any event, I'm not going to get into that now. I'll be on for another 20 minutes. So hopefully this has been fun. And you can rewatch. And I'm going to be posting these over on YouTube as well because I know Twitch erases them unless you pay. And I'm not going to pay. So I will be uploading these as well to YouTube. So they will also be over there. So for some reason Twitch is not a great place to replay stuff. It's easier off YouTube. They're going to be on there too. So I will be posting this stuff over there. Thanks for showing up. I really appreciate it. I don't need big numbers. I'm okay without that. It's not a huge deal to me. I just have a good time with this stuff and people seem to enjoy it. So I'm happy about that because didn't think it was going to be this easy to be able to stream drawing stuff. And it's actually pretty simple. So anyway, I'm going to shut up now. Have a wonderful Tuesday and we'll see you next time. All right. Good night.